evening, folks. Welcome. Welcome to the lovely, exciting, engrossing Monday stream here on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I will mute my phone because I don't think I did, and I did not. Phone is now muted. No distractions, baby. It's just you and me. How's everybody doing? Hope you had a lovely weekend. Gosh darn it. I hope you were able to indulge into all sorts of just lovely things. As you should be deserving of. You should be deserving of that. And yeah, I had a nice weekend. I had a nice little weekend. Saturday is not Saturday, it's Sunday. Yesterday was the Mother's Day. So I went to visit Mama Hayes in the rehabilitation center, and she was very nice. Well, she's always very nice. She was very good, is what I'm trying to say. The place is nice, and she is doing well. And I brought her a big bouquet of flowers. She was very happy about that. And we got in there, and we just we enjoyed the times. Spent a little brought her some chocolates too. She likes the chocolate. Look, my mother is her tastes are not complex. She does not have overly refined tastes. My mother has a thing for the chocolate. The chocolate boxes that you just buy at the pharmacy, right? You just go in, you get one of those, and she's thrilled. And I remember a couple of years ago, I went to some very fancy chocolatier. Did I struggle with that? I went to a very fancy chocolatier in town, in the old part of town. Okay. Like someone that does all their chocolate themselves, handcrafted molds and the chocolates and everything, right? And I got her this, like a nice little selection of 6 chocolates, right? That you just pick out. They're all like, they're all displayed before you, and you're like, I'll take that one and that one, And then you ask the clerk, what do you recommend? What goes well with these that I'm picking here? And he goes, oh, well, you could go with this one because this one has a little more crunch. As it stands right now, you've got 2 very soft ones. Maybe this one with a little more crunch would be more interesting. This one is, has some sea salt in it. And I'm like, all right, okay. And I give them to her, the 6, and she looks at the box and says, oh, it's so small. I'm like, yes, but I mean, these are quality chocolates, Mom. I got you 6 quality, like top shelf chocolates that you can't reproduce like in a factory somewhere. You're not gonna, this ain't the Lindt people here. These are people, downtown making this with their hands. She goes, oh, that's nice. And she opens it up and she looks at them, She goes, which one? I point to one and I don't quite remember. And she tastes it and she goes, that's nice. And then she starts passing them around. There's about like 8 of us or something, and everyone's going, ooh. And I swear to God, if she had liked them, like if she had really liked them, she would have just like closed the lid and kept them. She was like, all right. But that's what she does with the drugstore chocolate. She just, you go in, you get you get the Laura Secord one. I don't think Laura Secord is a thing in the US. Canadians will know what I'm talking about. You get the Laura Secord ones, they're just like factory made, like there's like 25% wax in the fucking chocolate, whatever, paraffin is what they call it. It's just wax. That's what it is. And I go over and I give her the flowers, and she loves flowers, so that's the easy part. And then the chocolate, and then she goes, oh, and then she takes a couple. She goes, do you want one? And I know better. And I say, no, thank you, Mom. It's very sweet. She's okay if you don't want any. She closes the box and squirrels it away type of thing. So, you know, easy to please is Mama Hayes, I gotta tell you. I gotta say, like, when it comes to chocolate myself, I'm a very simple pleasures type of guy. I like, don't get me wrong, I like trying out some really decadent chocolates. And, you know, like when I was younger and I did live in the old part of town and I went to this chocolatier, that was the first place that introduced me to Aztec style chocolate, which is basically with hot pepper in it, right? I was like, oh, revolutionary. It's like, oh, my mind is blown. All these flavors coming together that aren't supposed to go together, and yet it's so good. Ancient civilizations had it together. What the fuck is wrong with us? Type of thing. And in case you're wondering, no, I never gave Mama Hayes any of the spicy Aztec style chocolates because she just would have chucked it out the window. She likes spice, but not in her dessert. She's, you know, desserts are supposed to be sweet. That's all. You don't start bringing it. You don't start going, oh, well, this is fleur de sel. You know, this is caramel, salty caramel. She's gonna be like, no, you don't put salt in caramel. Well, actually, yes, Mom, you do. Like, regardless, there's always that's what helps make caramel tasty. Anyway, she's doing well is the point. We live a lovely day. I watched Send Help, the latest gem from Sam Raimi, of which my girl Kristen is an obnoxious fan of. She loves Sam Raimi, but I do too. Not as much as she does, but I'm a big Sam Raimi fan as well. And holy shit, I love this movie. I love this so much. And it's you know, tongue-in-cheek, very goofy Sam Raimi, you know, very self-aware. I had a hell of a good time. Like, he knows what his fans are looking for. He knows what he likes to do. He knows what he's good at. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot more fun. It was a lot more fun than I expected. Like, I was in for a good time. I was like, this is going to be a good time. But it went even above and beyond. I highly recommend it to anyone and everyone. To anyone who's someone. And you're all someone. You're all somebody's someone. So it's recommended for all. Even if you don't like the horror films. It's fun. It's stupid. It's goofy. It doesn't take itself too seriously. You know, I finished the movie and I was like, this is a pulp horror movie comic from like the 40s and 50s. This is what Send Help is. It's a pulp horror comic book. It's tremendous. It's really fun. I enjoyed it tremendously, and I cannot recommend it enough. All right, but we're here to talk about professional wrestling, not cinema. This isn't Red Letter Media or I don't know who else. Who else review? You know, who was the one guy I used to listen to, but he stopped making. I Hate Everything. I Hate Everything. Used to do movie reviews too. But he hasn't done things in a long time. But I used to enjoy his stuff. Red Letter Media. They're still doing their thing. Anyway. We're here to talk about professional wrestling here on the channel, on the stream. Thank you for being here, folks. Hope you're having a lovely. Hope your weekends were good and your Monday is adequate. That is acceptable. It is not on cinema at the cinema. But that being said, I would give 5 bags of popcorn to Send Help, plus a little sushi knife. That's what I'd do. Travis, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Yes, we will be watching the Mr. Warren Hayes show, unlike Takeshita. This is a meme I can get behind. I think it's funny. Maggie O'Kenna, nice to see you. Welcome as well. Oh, both these guys, by the way, are members of the Mr. Warren Hayes show channel, so just in case you were wondering. Warren Hayes has turned me into a reverse Garfield where now I love Mondays. Influencing the world is what I do. Rory Starks, nice to see you. Welcome, welcome. Yes, it's that kind of chocolate, actually. Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what it is. Mama Hayes wanted a Mars bar. She probably would have been very satisfied with. Ooh. She likes the O. Henry's, which again I don't think is an American thing. But she does like the O. Henry bar, which is like so this long. And it's like chocolate, nougat, and peanuts, and caramel. Something like that. It's a chocolate bar that it's a candy bar I have never indulged in because of the peanut situation. I will not be beating the peanut allegations tonight. Or ever. I don't think at this point. You know, for a while I used to be, O. Henry is very much an American thing. You guys, okay, good. Or is it Mr. Big? Maybe it's Mr. Big. Okay. Convoy, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Also a member of the channel. So it's Mr. Big. I always get those two confused because they're basically the same thing. It's Mr. Big you guys don't have. So you have the O. Henry, but you don't have the Mr. Big. And the Mr. Big is essentially an O. Henry bar. But that's why I always get those two confused, and I can't tell them apart. Because it's both the same thing. It's packed with peanuts, so. Emily all day, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. I love the Reese's peanut butter O. Henry bars. I'm sure they're great. Peanut butter is going to be one of the things that I will have missed out on this lifetime. They're I've always thought peanut butter looked really, really good. And especially when you see it in recipes and stuff, and you're like, oh, this looks great. Why can't I eat peanut butter? But no, like even as recently as a couple of years ago when I did an allergy checkup, you know, you do one of these seasons where they prickle your arm, you know. Couldn't do it. Still can't eat peanuts. I was allergic to eggs for the longest time. And then in my 30s, I did a test and then I was like, oh, you're no longer allergic to eggs. So I got home that night, told the family, we are having breakfast for dinner, and made pancakes and bacon and toast and scrambled eggs. I think I must have been like 32, 33, something like that when I ate my first egg. There you go. But I don't think I'll be going down I don't think I'll be that lucky with peanuts. You guys have Aero bars, which are difficult to get here or are just uncommon. Yes, we do. I find Aero bars to be overrated, quite frankly. I don't quite get it. I find they're overrated. Have you ever tried Wow butter? It's very similar to peanut butter, but it doesn't contain peanuts or nuts. Yeah, that's yes, I do. I actually have a jar of Wow butter in my pantry. It is a constant here because I do enjoy that in the morning. It's a good shot of protein to kick off the day. But sometimes, you know, I just like I'd like the peanut experience. But then again, I also enjoy my life. I also enjoy living. Also enjoy not being rushed to hospitals. And quite frankly, my children enjoy that as well. So everyone's in agreement here. Don't eat peanuts, Dad. So there we go. Why don't we, okay, well listen, okay. Let's get down to business. We're going to start getting down to business here. First and foremost, leave a like on this stream. There's a very fair chance that you haven't, you scumbags. Going a little overboard here, but please do leave a like on the stream. That would be very much appreciated. Not much to report on anything really new that's happening, that's interesting, special, like on the recording front and whatnot. Yeah, you know, just the regular stuff. The AEW Dynamite review was out last week, and MrWarrenHayes show was out last week as well, because and last Wednesday was a MrWarrenHayes show that was completely pre-recorded, was not recorded at all, you know, on the side or whatever, you know, not necessarily on the side, but you know, no stream elements were added. It was all pre-recorded stuff, which so you know, so the streams were like exclusive for the people who show up on stream, and then the MrWarrenHayes show contained all new material for people who do come to the stream and then listen to the podcast as well. And then this is all going to be back this week. That's pretty much it, quite frankly. You know, look, you know the drills and whatnot. If this is your first time here, we'll consider subscribing to the channel. Would love to have you show up more often. We do a lot of fun streams, and you know, I provide content and, you know, my opinion on things. And you can also follow me on Blue Sky at MrWarrenHayes.show. And you can hit the little 100 emoji right there in the chat, which took me by surprise there, because that doesn't happen very often. So there you go. And the Discord, the MrWarrenHayes Show Discord link is in the description if you want to come hop in and join, and you know, join a little bit of conversation with like-minded wrestling fans. That's where it's at. Plus, it's free, unlike the WWE Club. All right. Is that it? Does that mean that we've covered everything? I think so. I do believe so. All right. Well then, I think this means that we need to get this one underway, folks. We need to get this on the way. Here we go.
How you doing, everybody? I'm Jacques Mollier. Just let me tell you a little bit about myself.
Sure, please go ahead. Tell us.
I represent NWA, Mountain State Wrestling.
Hoo-yah! And there he is. There's Patrick. On cue. Nice to see you, Patrick. Welcome to the chat. Member of the MrWarrenHayes channel on top of that, too. That's enough, Jacques. All right. Good stuff. A little less conversation, a little more EpiPen. Dude, just keep an EpiPen on you. Enjoy peanuts and life. That doesn't sound like very medically sound advice. I will consult with my physician before making any of these decisions. I always picture this part of some sort of job interview process, show us your hidden talent. Could you imagine? You know, he goes to like a legit job interview, and you know, what's a talent you have that no one else has, type of thing, you know. And he's well, here, let me show you. And he's got these nunchucks like in his back pocket, you know. He carries them everywhere and he pulls them out. Guy at the you know, the dealership, or at the, you know, the coffee shop or whatever. The HR guy or gal sitting there. Watch him go. Anyway, why won't you escape button just use? Here's our docket. Hey, did y'all watch the Fairway to Hell show this weekend? The AEW show that they did on the SoFi virtual golf resort environment, you know, the indoor golf game. Pretty fun show. I gotta tell you, I enjoyed it. And I enjoyed the setup for the TV. If there's one thing you can't knock AEW for, is trying out different venues and seeing how they work on TV. It was really, really refreshing to see a show in this very different environment, the way it was shot, and the way things were set up. You know what I really liked from the get-go was when Jack Perry made his way in, right? And he's got like the fans lined up behind like some little parapet or, you know, some half wall, and they're already there high-fiving him as he's walking in. You know, I thought that was rad. I thought, hell yeah. See, that would be really fun. That would be really fun. If this became like more of a thing. I know it's really hard to do because, you know, it's not every venue is designed like this, but you know, they made the most of it. I thought that was really cool. And the environment was good. I felt the crowd vibes were good. I have to wonder though, how much of an interesting experience it is for a live crowd though. Because clearly the SoFi, well, it's not the SoFi Center, right? Well, look, the SoFi Golf Course, the SoFi Golf Experience, they clearly didn't want like tons of us smelly wrestling fans, like on the green, like on the, actually on the course itself. So, the people who were there were probably, maybe they were like VIP package holders and stuff like that, but they didn't want the unwashed masses around the ring. So it kind of did feel though, like the audience was far from the action. Now I know you've got the screens and whatnot, but you don't go watch a live wrestling show to then like crane your neck to look at a TV screen. You can do that from home, right? But so I wonder what the experience was for fans. Of course, when Darby and Pac started playing in the sand, the crowd went bonkers for it. That they were into, which is absolutely fine, and they should be. But I just wonder. But other than that, I will take 1,000 of these, or at least AEW trying stuff out. Maybe sometimes not as successfully, sometimes quite successfully, but I will take events like this that force promotions to think about how they present pro wrestling and try something different, because we have been presenting pro wrestling like this since Nitro #1, since WCW Nitro #1. The formula for presenting pro wrestling has essentially been the same for 30 plus years. It's nice to see different things. So I will rarely knock a promotion, a televised national promotion, for trying stuff out. Now, you can try stuff out and completely fail. I don't think this was a complete failure. I thought for TV, this was a blast. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was a lot of fun when Darby started walking up onto the green to, challenging Pac to come after him. I was like, okay, this is goofy. I like this. This is fun. This is fun. And the show was fun. I enjoyed the show. I thought the wrestling was great. What about Mark Davis winning the national championship? Maybe it turns out maybe Jake Doyle getting hurt might have been the best thing for Mark Davis's career, right? If you listen to the reviews, to the Dynamite reviews, and you should if you don't, that I do every week on Thursdays, I'm a huge proponent of Mark Davis. Even back in the days of Aussie Open, I was like, oh, man, yes, Kyle Fletcher's the star. Absolutely, this is the guy that has the unlimited ceiling. But Mark Davis is also, he is a guy that does things in a way that you don't see much in professional wrestling in 2026 or back then, 2020, 2022, 2023, so on and so forth. Like he was always super tight. And I'm so glad for him that, injuries, because everything was kind of sidelined when Kyle Fletcher got injured, when Aussie Open was still a thing. So then, Davis was sort of sidelined, and then Davis got hurt, and then he comes back, and then Jake Doyle gets paired up, and then Jake Doyle gets hurt, and everyone's going, fuck, And he instead, Tony's like, nah, I'm going to put you on TV, brother. I'm going to put you on TV, and you're going to work. And Jesus Christ, like he has been having a stellar year so far. Never mind the kayfabe record. He has been having a tremendous 2026. He has been so good. He's such a good pro wrestler. So I have no issues with that. No issues at all. I think Jack Perry doing the Stadium Stampede is going to be a great idea. It's a good thing to, probably wanted to take the title off for those reasons, or just probably just wanted to give it to Mark Davis too. Maybe Tony's like, hey, you know what? Let's belt up Davis. Let's belt up Mark Davis. And I think it's good. And I think it's refreshing. And I'm really interested to see how they're going to be handling this. So there we go. And yeah, I thought it was very good. So officially, is it Dunkzilla or Dangerous Mark Davis? Now that's someone who, this is the mark of someone who listens to the Warren Hayes AEW Dynamite reviews. Because for the longest time, Mark Davis has been wearing on his trunks, on his ass, his very ample ass. I don't think that's a weird thing to say. I think everyone's sort of in agreement, right? It's like a characteristic. It's like saying that person has blonde hair. Well, Mark Davis has an ample ass, okay? And on his trunks, on his ample ass, it was written dangerous for a very long time. And I was pointing that out and say, I see what you're doing, Mark. And I had his back. I was calling him Dangerous Mark Davis, not the Dunkzilla stuff. Dangerous Mark Davis. That's what I'd call him. That's what he was trying to get over. But commentary and, his chyrons and everything was always like Dunkzilla. But he's trying to get Dangerous over. And I was all for it because Dangerous Mark Davis fucking rocks. Whereas Dunkzilla is fine. But Dunkzilla Mark Davis, doesn't ring as true. Dangerous Mark Davis, though, now you know what you're getting yourself into. Now that's a very old school name I can get behind. That fucking rocks. But now look, during his title win at the Fairway Fairway to Hell, wasn't from hell. That would be an insult to the SoFi Recreation Center for golf. It was written Dunkzilla. So I guess Dunkzilla is the thing. I guess that's it. Probably. But, we'll see. Look, maybe he'll show up on Wednesday on Dynamite and he'll have Dangerous on the trunks again. And I'll go through this whole thing one more time. Yeah, Dangerous. Nice to see you, fucking mama. That is... Dangerous Mark Davis is fucking rad. And I don't know why they're not just like committing to it. I don't know what is the hang up. Are they afraid that Danny Davis is going to take offense to this and he's going to give someone a call? What the fuck? Mr. Antox, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Then Davis came back again, teamed with Doyle. Doyle tears his bicep, and Davis hasn't really missed a Dynamite or Collision since Jake Doyle's injury back at Maximum Carnage in January. And he's been great. Not only has he not missed much, if anything, he's been awesome on top of it all. MJF has defended the world title in more places than any national, international, or Atlantic title holder. More than, Orange Cassidy didn't do the indies. Yeah, I think you're right. Off the top of my head. Pac, maybe? When Pac was All Atlantic, right? Didn't he go defend it in Japan? Didn't he go to, I don't remember though. Don't quite remember, so don't hold me to that. And I'm not checking. Someone will. Someone else will. D. Owens, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Also a member of the channel, the MrWarrenHayes channel, just to be clear. Also, no one in AEW history has defended that the belt that was sold as the traveling belt. Yeah, that's it. Visually, Fairway to Hell reminded me of old Puerto Rico footage when they're on the baseball field. That's a great, great comp. I like that. Usually when a tag partner gets hurt, it usually means trouble for the tag partner. Mark Davis is the inverse. He's been thriving. Kind of sucks for Jake Doyle. Like, you know, because this is what's going to happen when Jake Doyle returns. It's like, well, do we want them to be a tag team again? Like, well, probably, you know, because they're probably going to kick ass. But, you know, you're like, I'm completely okay with this Mark Davis singles run. It's been tremendous. They could do the Duncan Funk connection. Should we ban Rory Starks for writing that, for putting that into the world? Should we ban Rory for this? No, we won't, but don't do it again. Pedro the Fifth, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Somewhere Kawada senses something. Yeah, pretty much. Pac was defending the All Atlantic title back home in England, and I think one time in Dragon Gate. Yeah, didn't he? I was afraid to say Dragon Gate. I wasn't quite sure, but I felt like he had defended it in Japan, which is on the other side of the Atlantic, all the way on the other side of the Atlantic. AEW should make a women's national title that Nyla can defend around the globe since they won't put her on TV. Yeah, there's a good idea for you. There's a good idea. And then of course you had the main event. You had the main event of Pac and Darby Allin. Darby Allin retaining, of course. That was just like cuckoo nuts. That was just fun. It was just fun as hell. It was just spots, right? It was just spots. This wasn't your psychology match. This wasn't, oh, look at these great pro wrestlers match. It was just like dudes doing really sick shit to each other. And it was fun. Look, it was fun. It was fun. They get into they start crossing barriers and doing all sorts of bullshit. I really want to know how many limitations that the SoFi Center for Golf Entertainment had put on them as to what they could or could not do. Because as much as I enjoyed the sand trap stuff and of course the balcony toss, I was like, wait, there's a lot. It seems to me there's many more possibilities you could be doing here, right? Seems to me there's so much more you could be doing than just this, you know. Of course, you know, they probably restricted some things, right? So I would have just liked to know, you know. Darby asking, "Can I climb that pole?" The person from the SoFi Center says, no, you can't. Who are you? No, you cannot climb that pole. Why would you want to climb that pole? And then Darby goes, to jump off of it. It says, no, you're not doing that. No. It's like, it was one of those things. And yeah, I mean, and then Darby getting thrown off the balcony was nuts. It was just crazy. Because he didn't even hit all the tables. And I like how Pac was then packed in then so you know he jogged all the way back down, you know, got him up onto his shoulders into a fireman's carry and got him back into the ring, and that gave enough time for Darby to regain his senses and then win. Look, the most redundant story in professional wrestling these days is Darby Allin's world title run rules, but it's also the most truthful story in professional wrestling going around these days, because it does rock. It rocks. It's a great title run. And the discussion that I find, of course, because things have a tendency to grow and grow. It's like the story. Well, first, King of the North, nice to see you, buddy. Welcome to the chat, Evan. It's been a while. Nice to see you. Nice to see you, Mike McCullough, as well. I'm also a member of the channel. Because the discussion that I've seen, and even in my own isolated circles, is this like the greatest AEW World Championship run of all time? And I think, while I think it's engaging and thrilling and a lot of fun, I don't know how great it is. Because for me, and your mileage may vary on this one, chat, right? I'm not going to sit here and say that, at least on this topic, that, my opinion is not necessarily the law. We've got a couple of others coming up where if you disagree with me, you're just flat out wrong. I'm joking, or am I? Stick around and find out. I feel like for a world championship run to be considered great, you do have to get a certain amount of high caliber, high tier opponents, right? That you do have to get some stars onto those notches, onto those victories that you notch onto the belt. And I don't think Darby has that. Of course, he beat MJF to win the title. MJF is one of the biggest stars in pro wrestling today. So that's a good scalp. But as far as others, not that the Tommaso Ciampa match stunk. It was awesome. Not that none of his other matches, the Kevin Knight matches, they were all good to great to excellent matches. Like there hasn't been a snoozer. There hasn't been any, the Brody King match, like everything was a blast, but no one really showing up where you're like, this person has a legitimate chance to win the belt. This person has a chance to defeat Darby Allin. And I think that, for me, that puts a ceiling on how great, as it being one of the greatest AEW run. No, because he doesn't have the opposition to uplift it to that mark. However, it has been a blast. It has been really, really good. It has been tremendous. It has been absolutely tremendous. I wouldn't call it an all-time great run. I wouldn't call it one of the greatest. I wouldn't call it one of the greatest AEW runs of all time, but I think it's one. It is a great one nonetheless. Because it's lacking in big time opponents. That's what's missing from it. And quite frankly, if we follow the rumors and whatnot, well, we're not going to get that far either. We're not going to transition into a moment where suddenly he's like fighting Kenny Omega and John Moxley and so on and so forth. From of course, if you listen to the rumors, this could all change. Like maybe in a month from now, they'll be like, he'll have strung together a series of defenses against the top guys where I'll be like, okay, well, fuck this shit. It's probably the greatest of all time. But I don't want, the point that I'm trying to make here is I don't want to diminish what he's doing, because I'm entertained. I'm thoroughly entertained. The world title picture in AEW right now is by far the most exciting and unpredictable title picture in professional wrestling, period. It's legitimately the most fun. So I don't want to diminish any of that. I guess what I'm trying to say is normalize just saying things are good. Because they don't have to be. It gets exhausting when you talk to pro wrestling fans sometimes, because everything is top notch. Everything, it has to be the best. It has to be the greatest, or it's nothing. It always has to be the tippy top thing, or it's nothing. It's always, if it's not a 5-star match, well, then you hated the match type of thing. And we got to be able to just be reasonable and normalize saying that things are really fucking good without suddenly having to fall into hyperbole and say, well, this is one of the greatest, like this is the greatest X, of all time. We don't have to do that. And like I often like to say, sometimes it does happen where people will get so invested in someone and saying, they're great, they're great, they're great, before, let's say, we see anything really great. A really good example of this is Billie Starkz, where she was beatified to a degree on the indies, being very young and being good for her age and whatnot, and people say, oh, she's great, and you'd look at it and say, well, she's not great, and we should be able to turn around and give like those accolades when they're deserved, because eventually, if Billie Starkz does like become the next Manami Toyota, what else are we going to say that hasn't already been said? If that makes sense. If people keep piling on the fact that, oh, all this is great, all this is great, all this is great all the time, well, then when things truly do become great, from a more objective scale, well, then it diminishes everything that happened beforehand. Then everything feels a little more off. I don't know. I think we have to be able to just normalize having things be good, be great even, but without necessarily having to fall into the scales of this is the greatest thing of all time type of thing. And that's how I feel about the Derby run so far. Hey, Kudu, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. It's very nice to see you. Warren Hayes, that's me. How do you feel about the discussions in some circles talking about Darby Allin being an all-time television wrestler? Yeah, I've been in those circles having those discussions. I have a tendency to agree with that statement. I think Darby, as far as a TV wrestler, is perfect. I think I think his game is close to perfect. He's got the great entrance. He does the stunts. And he's a good wrestler on top of that. He's got the showmanship. Everything connects with him. I have a tendency to agree. If Darby can beat everyone in last year's Blue League, he's the GOAT. I mean, sure. Sure, but he's not even getting Okada. See, Okada would have been a huge scalp, but he's not even getting Okada. We're doing the Takeshita thing. Apparently, I'm sure you've all heard by now that that Okada is not. Well, of course you've heard because they announced it on Saturday. Okada had to go back to Japan for family matters, pressing family matters. So look, from what I understand, it is a shoot, but it could be. It could also not be, it could also just be like, hey, you know what? We don't want the champion losing going into a pay-per-view type of thing. There could be multiple reasons. There could be so many reasons where they might just have decided to change course. We'll see on Wednesday, but it could be a work. Don't let me telling you that it's a that I've heard that it's a shoot to that. Don't let that deter you and suddenly say, oh no, Okada's absolutely not showing up. I mean, that's just it's just stuff going around. I think even Dave Meltzer reported it. Like, it's just like some, apparently it's a shoot. Apparently there is something happening and Okada has to flake out for this week. So we'll get Takeshita instead. That's fine. I love Konosuke Takeshita, but again, like it's not a huge scalp for Darby. The Okada scalp would have been a lot bigger. Anyway. I think it's fine, but I'll be completely against it after he pins Takeshita on Wednesday, for real. So that's gonna make some people angry too. It's going to get more predictable with the brackets for the Owen on Wednesday. It might not be the best title reign of all time, but I feel in terms of packing in the most in a short title reign, it has to be the top 5. Look, it's been extremely entertaining. Don't get me wrong. It's been so much fun. I've enjoyed every moment of it. It has been spectacular. But right now, like, I find the title situation is pretty predictable right now. That's the thing. Like with them making, I know the match is not officially made, but with AEW basically making the title versus hair match, well, like, you know, that undercuts the Pac match, and it undercuts the Takeshita match. Like, there's no way Darby is losing these matches, right? Moving forward, and we're heading into the pay-per-view against MJF. You know, so, you know, right now you're kind of like, well, okay, this is absolutely the path. This is what we're doing here. You'd think, unless they really do decide to do something bold. But I don't think they're going to go that bold. TK doesn't want to give him Okada's scalp. I don't know. We'll see on Wednesday. If Okada is there on Wednesday, then it was a work. Then we can start speculating as to why this didn't happen. Was it TK? Was it Okada? Was it, you know, whatever it is? Just like change of plans, change of strategy. Could be just as simple as that. Or, but if he's not there on Wednesday, well, then, you know, we will send our best wishes to Kazuchika Okada and his family, and hopefully that it's nothing too serious that is happening with him. Can you see Okada taking a coffin drop, though? Sure. Yes, because he took Tongaloa's chops. So, yes, I can absolutely see him taking a coffin drop. Oh, and one last thing from the fairway to hell. I am so excited at the idea of this 5-minute challenge by the Toronto Dominion. That fucking rules. I am so psyched for these two giant women to be like, hey, none of you can beat us under 5 minutes. And then having the timer on screen, and then having a tag team like coming up really, really close, really fucking close to the 5 minutes, and then just coming up short. It is such a good angle to run. And that is really, really awesome. That is something. That's some tag team stuff that I can get behind. Never mind the Statlander, Shida, can they get along bullshit, right? It is so good. I you know, and it's so simple and basic as far as an angle goes, but this is how you're going to get those women over. Like, this is, and the team that's going to go over 5 minutes, it's going to be huge. Like, yeah, look, we all know that the Brawling Birds have a tag team title run in them, right? But here's how before getting to them, since we're doing this angle, this is what you do. You have the Toronto Dominion girls like beat a bunch of local jabrones, right? And then guess what? You bring back Hyan and Maya World. And Hyan and Maya World, they make it past 5 minutes, but like 5 minutes and 2 seconds kind of thing, right? That's the gimmick, right? That's the gimmick. They just have to go over 5 minutes. And they can get a shot. So they do that. Crowd goes nuts, but then they get to the title match and they lose. Then Cross and Bane just destroy them. You're like, heartbreaker, and then, but we're already rooting for Hyan and Maya World. This would be so easy to do. So then you set that up. You set up the idea that someone can beat the Toronto Dominion, but then they, drop the ball for the tag team titles. So then you bring in the brawling Birds, and they have a fucking slugfest, and the Birds last the 5 minutes, and that's not even a problem. And then they win the titles. That's what I do. That is what I do. It is such smart booking. I think it is so cool. It is so cool that they're doing this. Just tremendous. That's a storyline I can get behind. That's an angle that speaks to Warren Hayes. It's tremendous. It's also a great idea because it highlights their strengths, which is short matches. To a degree. Because I think Megan Bayne gets shortchanged quite a bit. I still maintain that Megan Bayne is the most improved wrestler of 2025, even though no one listens to me. She has been on an upward trajectory. She is so much better than when she started her year, and she's even better now. And if you want to see her go long with a tremendous wrestler and have an incredible match, you don't have to go very far. Stardom All-Star Grand Queendom just a couple of weeks ago against Shuri, which was awesome. Fantastic. Just incredible stuff. Kristen Ashley, nice to see you, darling. Welcome to the chat. Simple and basic. When did I say that? And that's not you. How are you? Well, also a member of the channel, by the way. I didn't mean they're bad. Cross and Bane look great, but their power squashes look more cooler. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, I understand and I completely agree. You have the size with both these ladies. Yes, so if you go in and you do like the squashes, like the short destructive stuff, it just looks even more impressive because they're fucking Amazons, and it's just like, these giant women are coming in to destroy us all. So it does look more impressive on that front. I completely agree. All right. This is our docket, by the way. I don't think I properly introduced the docket tonight. We're here. I want to start with this little note here regarding WWE, and of course I'm gonna reduce the brightness of my screen, which is something I should do by default now, but somehow I always forget to do here. But WWE apparently has been copyright striking tons of content creators online. Apparently this is their new pastime. They've been doing it quite a bit. Motown Slim, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat, man. Also member of the channel. So let's read this article here. Like everything in the world these days, professional wrestling has spawned a cottage industry of streamers and content creators who post videos of their reactions online, but WWE is looking to shut many of these posters down. A report by Jeremy Lambert at Fightful.com says WWE and its legal team have been going after a variety of online personalities. Quote, World Wrestling Entertainment has reportedly taken down and sent copyright strikes to a number of streamers and content creators over clips and reactions, unquote. That's from the report written by Jeremy Lambert. Fightful is also reporting that WWE is working with a company called Stream Enforcement, all one word, capital E in the middle. I hate that so much. That is so 2009. Anyway, using bots to target streamers. Our own Brian Alvarez confirms that WWE, quote, totally clamped down this week, unquote. And he continues, it's a lot of WWE reaction video creators, Alvarez reports, went down sometime in the past 3 weeks, big names all dinged and having to pull all their stuff, unquote. This is surprising because WWE has a track record of posting those streamers on their own programming. Really? Really? Now, admittedly, I haven't watched WWE in a while, but have reaction streamers been a part of WWE programming? Because iShowSpeed is not a WWE streamer, and neither is Logan Paul. And neither was KSI. So I don't know. I'm curious. Did they show off who's that guy? The other guy, Mr. Santi Zap? Did they put guys like that on? Anyway, a lot of people shocked about it, including in WWE, because those vids did push the product hard to large audiences, Alvarez said. And then there's an example of WWE promoting streamers on their own platform. Nearly a full minute of streamers reacting to Tiffany Stratton cashing in her Money in the Bank briefcase last year. Now I see what. Okay, I see what they mean now. I thought they were like featuring these streamers, like bringing in, I love Roman Reigns 73, whatever. And bring them on. That okay. It's not that. It's more like compilation streams. They just grab stuff and slap it all together, and then the content creator goes, "Hey, I was on there," but there's no way to identify them. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Why am I talking about this? Why? Obviously, this is not something that concerns me. I don't play clips. I don't do reaction streams. I don't do this kind of stuff with WWE content or any content, when we do, on the rare occasions that we do watch alongs, there's no video, there's no audio. I have played WWE Twitter videos in the past and got those, demonetized, and I've never been copyright claimed because that's not what I do here. We don't take the intellectual property that is WWE and go ahead and use it. I think that especially considering that you can make a discussion of in regards to WWE being some sort of sport, even though it is scripted, even though it is sports entertainment, it is still a sport, and I think there's a very easy case for fair use here to be put to task here, where essentially, if you're airing clips to highlight a point, to create to highlight a point, to create something new out of it, to bring something to the public's attention, I think that's absolutely fine and should be normalized. I think what WWE is doing is, I think it's terrible. I think it's wrong. But I also am pretty sure that there are content creators out there that are just very happy running, 10-minute clips or probably even entire matches of WWE stuff and, not really adding anything, just letting it roll, because to me, sitting around watching a clip and going, oh, that's not adding. That's not transformative. That's the word I was looking for earlier. It's not transformative. You're not changing the existing work into something different. You're just, layering something that just adds nothing, right? And I'm sure that there's a lot of these content creators that do that, these reaction streamers or reaction TikTokers or whatever the fuck. I'm sure there's a lot of them who do exactly that. So, it's low effort. It is what it is. I don't necessarily am shedding a tear necessarily, because I also think this content poisons pro wrestling at the same time, because it's, I don't think, I don't think it helps in the consumption of how pro wrestling should be thought about. But look, that's just me, right? I mean, look, if you've got reaction streamers that you really enjoy in there, and I'm sure out there are some who do a really good job that are legitimately entertaining. I mean, that's fine, and please go enjoy what you want to enjoy. I'm just talking, from my perspective here. But then again, like, Warren, why are you talking about it then? You just want to dunk on these people that are losing their channels? And no, of course not. Of course not. That's awful. No one should no one should lose their YouTube channels, especially if you worked hard to build a following, to build a community. Absolutely not. Like, this kind of stuff is, in my opinion, is abusive from WWE. This is abusive, and they shouldn't be doing that. But the reason I'm talking about this is because I think this is all tied in to their plans, they being the Fed. I think this is all tied into their plans for WWE Club. I think because they are money grubbers, and because they want not just a lot of money, they want all the money. They don't give a fuck, and they're going to crack down as hard as they can on these reaction streamers, on the possibility of flipping open a couple of TikTok accounts or YouTube accounts to see people react to these clips and whatnot. They're going to shut down that as much as possible so that it becomes more and more rare. And so if you want to be able to see these clips, you want to be able to enjoy this content, you will have to subscribe to the WWE Club. And I pulled this up here just to see here. And I think this spells a little more danger for wrestling, for a lot of wrestling websites, not just creators. Anyway, let's read through this. The announcement of WWE Gold Club WWE Gold membership experience, right? You can join this right now. Let's read the press release. WWE has announced the launch of Club WWE, the ultimate insider membership program. This is a very important keyword. That's a very important keyword there. The ultimate insider membership program designed to bring fans closer to WWE than ever before through exclusive access, rewards, and experiences. Club WWE will serve as a dedicated destination for WWE fans, offering a wide host of benefits across ticketing, merchandise, community, and content, all in one place. Fans interested in becoming a founding member can join the wait list now by visiting the URL. For an annual membership fee, Club WWE members will unlock a range of premium benefits, including exclusive 24-hour ticket pre-sale access to all WWE events across the world and tailored perks at featured events, including superstar meet and greets, hospitality opportunities, and entrances. Members only WWE shop featuring exclusive collections and early access to merchandise drops like John Cena's upcoming Never Seen 17 collection. That sounds sad. It sounds like anyway. Bonus WWE content featuring inside scoops, extended cuts, behind the scenes footage, and more. Dedicated members only community forum connecting fans around the world like never before. Listen, this is the main positive right here. This is the main positive, because if this means that that WWE fans are going to have their own gated little environment that they can just like leave us all alone on social media, I'm completely fine with this. Let the WWE adults have their corner off the on the internet, but just leave the rest of us the fuck alone. Points-based reward system allowing fans to earn credits to redeem against digital and physical goods, and a premium welcome pack for founding members. Our fans are the heartbeat of WWE. Okay, who cares? The rest doesn't matter. It's all fluff. It's a quote from Cena, a meaningful way to engage. Blee, blah, bloop. So what's interesting here, and this is what I want to make sure I communicate this correctly here. They're essentially creating their own, in other words, right, their own Patreon. And yes, it's like AMC stubs. Like it's exactly the same type of situation, but they're creating their own Patreon here. You know, for lack of a better term, where they're going to give all these exclusives if you pay a monthly fee for them, on top of the content that they already deliver for Netflix and NBC and ESPN and whatnot. And on top of all of that, you get this as well. Chat, don't you think it's curious that this gets announced and that they have this section right here, this part right here, dedicated, one of the perks of Club WWE Club being bonus content featuring inside scoops, extended cuts, and behind the scenes footage and more. Don't you think that's interesting? That in this environment right now where they're going around shutting people down, that they're like, oh yeah, no, hey, we're going to have some extended cuts. We're going to have some footage that, you know, you won't be able to see anywhere else. You know, it'll be with us. It's all going to be centered around us. Do you think that this is coincidental? Do you think, yeah, it could be, but I have trouble believing that this is coincidental. I have trouble believing that WWE is ruining an ecosystem to not be able to benefit from it. And I mean, and we're talking about we've been talking, I should say, about reaction streams and reaction streamers and whatnot. But for me, I see danger signs for the scoopsters, for the news sites, for the people who break the news, the observers and the Fightfuls and so on. I see potential trouble on that end when it comes to their WWE scoops. There's a thing about featuring inside scoops. Like, of course, they're not going to be like real scoops. There's not going to be any real dirt. But for those of us who are old enough to remember the old Ross report back in the day on WWE.com, sometimes Jim Ross would drop some stuff. You're like, Jim, should you be telling us this? Jim, is this legit? Is this a real thing that you should? Well, it's legit, but should you be sharing this information? They've done it before in a way to sort of counteract the scoopsters, the dirt sheets back in the day. This was the reason, right? It's, you know, and JR already having credibility with the audience was an easy guy to turn around and say it was an easy guy to turn around and put at the forefront here and say, no, like JR's good, you know, he's a straight shooter. He's going to tell you everything. He's going to tell you everything that you need to know. And Livewire is a great example. Thank you, chat. Livewire is an excellent example on top of that. So without really giving some true to form dirt, okay, like, Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, they really fucking hate each other, you know, not that, you know, give scoops on injuries and stuff like that, just like they used to do. They could do that. They could absolutely do that. Do you think that WWE, think about this for a second, do you think that they sit back and watch, you know, the amount of people subscribed to The Observer, although we don't know exactly how many people, but, you know, and the number of people, you know, signed up to Fightful Select. Do you think they look at that and they go, good for them? Good for them. No, they don't. They go, well, where's our part of this money? This is money we could be making. I personally, at first, I thought the Club WWE Club, whatever the fuck it's going to be called, Club WWE, I thought it was going to be just like the first couple of the first couple of bullet points here. I thought it was going to be like, you know, early access to merch and to ticket sales and, you know, that kind of bullshit. And I was like, who's going to pay for that? But then premium content. And then I'm wondering, well, are they going to bring on a couple of these reaction streamers? WWE loves to do things in-house. They always have. They really hate using... Yeah, they've tried to do the thing on Twitch, right? They tried to do the watch-along parties on Twitch. That failed. They never followed up with that. They've always tried to do things on the social media stuff, trust me when I tell you that when they put like NXT shows and AAA shows on YouTube, that is, they're doing it. They're doing it with clenched teeth. They're not enjoying any second of it. They don't want to do that. They want to be able to do things their own way. So, and on top of that, their own message board. Sounds a lot to me like a news site setup. And in the environment we're in right now, as far as wrestling media goes, with the amount of distrust that exists towards Dave Meltzer, Sean Ross Sapp, who are arguably the figureheads of wrestling media, and if you count everything that happened over the past couple of days with a certain outlet that will not be named, there's so much distrust towards wrestling media that they are in a perfect position to launch this kind of thing. And like, listen, you're going to get the real news here. You're going to get it from people you trust. Us. You trust us. We're the people who provide you with entertainment. So of course we're on your side. We're not the dirt sheets. We're not the guy who talks to the janitor working at Titan Towers. That's not us. No one in WWE said Mabel was the third man. So you can absolutely trust us. You see what I'm getting at? Like to me, this is more of a move to horn in on other people's rackets. And I wouldn't be surprised in the least if some outlets just get less coverage. That suddenly the scoops slowly dry up. And I'm not saying within a month of the launch of Club WW. I'm talking, down the line a little bit. And I'm saying this, just like WWE can launch this thing and then completely abandon it within a month, right? Remember NFT moonsaults? Moonsault NFT, right? You see what WWE can just try something out and then press the eject button whenever they want. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised that the only scoopsters who continue to get the scoops from WWE are those who played ball, those who are good little mouthpieces for WWE, right? Like Front Office Sports. And isn't it interesting that WWE enters media partnerships like that and allows and not allows but makes noise around these partnerships with outlets, basically saying, yeah, we've co-opted this outlet. And Mike Johnson over at PW Insider, I'm sure he'll continue to do his scoops. He'd bend over backwards for WWE. He'd do anything that WWE asks him to do. They sends him a little press release, and he'll never ask questions, and he'll never hit back. He'll never do a follow-up question. He'll just post the little blurb that he got like a good little boy, so he can keep getting his little scoopy doops. He'll be fine. And by the way, take a cheap shot once in a while against AEW and Tony Khan, courtesy of Dave Scherer. I think PW Insider is going to be fine. What about Dave? Well, Dave is different because Dave has long-term relationships in the business, so it might be a little different. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they start hanging on to this much more than they did in the past. And I think this is absolutely related to the creation of Club WWE. I'm 100% convinced that all of the copyright takedowns that they've been filing is all related to this. And I wouldn't even be surprised if a couple of big time streaming, and I don't know who they are. I have no idea who they are, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's exclusive, live streams that happen with these people, but via the Club WWE thing. So just some thoughts, just some random thoughts, but I really think that this has the potential to I don't think any of these moves that they've been doing, WWE in the capacity of creating community online and centralizing things on their side, I don't think none of this is accidental. That's just not how they operate. There's always a reason for doing these things. So they're going around and they're striking down channels. They're eliminating more goodwill. It doesn't matter. There will be people who are going to sign up to the Club WWE to get a chance to get early access, to spend a lot of money on tickets. And they'll have their little clubs and whatnot, and I'm sure they'll develop some kind of programming for their platform that will entice people to join. That would be my guess. And in the meantime, if they completely destroyed an ecosystem of people sharing clips and whatnot online, well, that's, as long as they keep making money, they don't give a shit. I think it's wrong. Despite the fact that I don't like WWE, I don't like their business practices, I don't watch the show, despite that, I think it's wrong, and they shouldn't be doing that. They should be celebrating their fans as opposed to trying to shut them down, especially on extremely shaky ground. Because I would assume that there is a quantity of these people getting struck that are using the footage in a very fair use capacity. And I'm sure a lot of them are not. That being said. But ultimately, what you're doing is you're shooting down your biggest fans, which are the people who will create content because they love your content so much that they're gonna buy tickets to go to the show so that they can take pictures and videos of themselves at the show and do live streams, IRL streams. They're gonna want to do the meet and greet so that they can get video of them talking to Liv Morgan or whatever the fuck. Like, you're shooting those people in the foot, and that's dumb. But they're assuming that they can make a whole bunch of money with Club WWE. That's what they're banking on. And if it works, well, they'll have proven right. If they don't, well, we'll have to see. But those are just a few thoughts I wanted to throw out there. Only feds. Only feds. Many streamers just leave the stream on and barely emote. Oh, I know. I know. Don't couch it. Reaction streams are the lowest form of content and is only fair use in the most extreme examples. Look, I'm not necessarily a fan. I have a tendency to agree. Like, it's low effort content. I don't want to give the impression, because here's the thing. Like, when you're someone who does the streams, who does the YouTube, and you start talking about, oh, well, this other guy's content is so low effort, right? It's like what I'm doing is not exactly like challenging, either. It's, what do I do? However, I prepare. I get my notes ready. I get the articles ready. I formulate opinions and I try to transfer those opinions, communicate those opinions as well as I can. But I mean, like, I'm not making this huge edited video with tremendous effects and, mind-boggling transitions and, incredible narration. I'm just, stammering across a microphone. So, I find myself, while I agree that reaction streams are the lowest form of content, I also tread lightly because what I do is not exactly the hardest thing on earth. Like, it's not the hardest thing to do ever. I'm not like, I'm not putting all of my cinematography skills to good use here. I've just got a couple of things running. I've got software running. I just press a couple of buttons and I'm online. Like, this is, so that's why, I tread lightly. I don't want to, go around telling people, go around and tell people, well, this content is low, is so low effort and it stinks, when you can absolutely look at what I do from a distance and go, well, your stuff is pretty low effort as well. And I'm like, well, you're not entirely wrong. You're not entirely wrong. But I don't like reaction content. I don't consume that stuff. I think it's lame. TSGRPS, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Time and time again, WWE fans complain the wrestling media isn't biased enough towards them. Well, there you go. We're gonna fix that problem. We're gonna fix that problem. If the roster is unsettled enough as it appears, I think we're in for a scoop boon period. Yeah, I don't disagree. I absolutely don't disagree. But look, you never get the scoops when people are happy. You never get there's never any squeaky wheels when people are getting paid and they're happy with their spots and things are going well. So yeah, William Davis, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat, brother. Also happens to be a member of the MrWarrenHayes Show channel. It's the counterpunch to my EW. Nielsen completely fucked over wrestling again. TNA fell below 200K again, and Collision fell below 400. I don't know why people... Look, I'm not a big ratings guy to begin with. We don't talk about that much here on stream. But quite frankly, with all... It feels like Nielsen every other week is changing their collection. I don't know why anyone pays attention. I don't know why anyone has been paying attention for paying attention to Nielsen ratings for months now. It's just been a complete disaster. When the people that I listen to start talking about the ratings and they go, well, listen, we're not quite sure how to approach this, because y'all, and they're putting caveat on top of caveat on top of caveat. It's like, what are we doing? Why are we reporting this? Anyway. Let's have a little fun here. Let's point and laugh here at the announcement of the John Cena Classic, chat. John Cena has announced an article off of postwrestling.com. John Cena has announced the creation of the John Cena Classic, a new WWE event that will introduce a new championship decided entirely by fan voting. Where was the outrage over WWE adding another championship? Where has been the outrage? Why haven't we been overwhelmed with 48 hours of there are too many titles in WWE discourse? How has that not happened? Cena revealed the concept during an in-ring segment at the Backlash Premium Live event in Tampa, Florida. The John Cena Classic will feature established main roster talent competing against performers from the NXT brand. Cena stated his intention for the showcase to become an annual tradition for the company. Aw, what a monogamous man. The event will culminate in the awarding of a new championship bearing Cena's name in a departure from traditional professional wrestling formats. Oh God, who wrote this? Is this Neil? Good job, Neil. The event will culminate in the awarding of a new championship bearing Cena's name. In a departure from traditional professional wrestling formats, the title will be awarded based on audience votes rather than match outcomes. Yes, chat, finally, we're going to get a wrestling tournament where wins and losses will not matter. The full vision for WWE will be expressed in this tournament, in the John Cena Classic. We have been told for years now, wins and losses don't matter. Outright and with the content itself. We've had, Bruce Pritchard say it on podcasts multiple times. Wins and losses don't matter. And now we're finally going to have a tournament where wins and losses will not matter. Finally, folks, finally, the WWE universe will be able to vote on entrances. Finally, they'll be able to vote on who's got the best yeets. I am flabbergasted by this. I am flabbergasted. Addressing the crowd, Cena reflected on his final professional match at a recent edition of Saturday Night's Main Event. He expressed satisfaction that his last appearance served as a platform for emerging talent. What? Who emerged? Who emerged? Walter? Gunther? No, he's not an emerging talent. He's a well-established wrestler, has been for years. Walter emerged, like 2012? I think is when, look, be real here. He specifically highlighted NXT roster members Sol Ruka, Javon Evans, and Oba Femi. Cena praised Femi's, rapid ascent, noting the rookie's recent victory over Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. WWE has not yet announced the date or location for the inaugural John Cena Classic because they were waiting for the Owen Hart tournament to be announced first. This is funny as hell, folks. You couldn't get it's comedy. This is pure comedy. We're going to have ourselves a professional wrestling tournament, and it doesn't matter who wins or loses. And it doesn't matter because it's going to be all part of the hustle. It's going to be part of, what you're going to be voting on is going to be, people, the vibes that they give off. That's essentially it. This is essentially Paul Levesque turning to the WWE universe and saying, I don't know who you guys want me to push. I don't know what to do anymore. So you guys tell me. And then they set up this little tournament deal, and it is so funny. It is so funny. John's face here on this picture, for those of you with the benefit of video, says it all. I don't understand. I have no clue how this. It's not a tournament. It's not a tournament. Chat's pointed it out, but it's a popularity contest. That's all it is. And you're gonna throw Jey Uso in there, and people are gonna go, yeah, yeets. That's what this is going to be. And you know what? Here's the thing is that and we know this from past editions of the Taboo Tuesday, for instance, if things don't go the company's way, they're just going to fudge the results. It doesn't matter. None of this matters. Like it's all going to be a big smoke and mirrors show to smoke and mirrors their performers. Like instead of, and you see, like, I don't understand why WWE makes this so fucking complicated. Chat. I don't understand. It should be as simple as, hey, we're going to we see the reactions that this guy and this gal and this guy and this gal are getting. So we are going to put them in professional wrestling matches, and they're going to win these matches. And we're going to give you reasons to support them. And that way you will get behind these people, and then we'll be able to push them, right? I don't know why they feel they have to do something like this to try and create to create new stars, and outright telling its audience it doesn't matter who wins or loses. So you're going to have more of these losers online who already have no comprehension as to what a real push is or not, are just going to go, no, it's fine, they're fine. Wins or losses don't matter. It's bonkers. Why? When has pushing people in professional wrestling become this tortuous ordeal that we have to find different ways of doing it, when the method that has worked for practically a century at this point, that same method still works today? Have the wrestler get into a match, have him win multiple times, and the people will get behind them. That's how it works. It's how it's always worked. Having people get into matches and win the matches. Why are we pretending that it's so fucking complicated? Well, that's because one man decided that what he does is not wrestling, it's sports entertainment, pinkies out. And so the way to achieve, superstardom is through this very complex dance of entertainment and sports. I do not understand. I have no comprehension about this. Look, when I watched the clip of this, before hearing any of the news, I was like, a tournament. That's how very unlike you, WWE. That was my first reaction. I was like, hey, maybe it'll even be a round robin. Good for them, type of thing. I was like, okay. But no, wins and losses don't matter. The people vote on their favorites. Oh my fucking God. I don't know, man. I don't know. Just wanted to point and laugh at this. There's a lot of clarity that still needs to be established. And to see who the participants are and so on and so forth, right? But I don't know why they just I don't know why they just didn't have a regular tournament. But then again, they can't even commit to King of the Ring. They can't even commit to King of the Ring or to Queen of the Ring either. Can't even commit to that because somehow it's too complicated. These are legitimately, creatively bankrupt people. And listen, I don't watch this anymore for multiple reasons. But the basic reason is I've been told so many times by the company itself that what they do is not pro wrestling. So it's like, okay, fine, I won't watch it then. I won't feel compelled to watch your not pro wrestling show. It's a show about pro wrestling. It's entertainment. We make movies, pal. All right. I'll go watch my pro wrestling something else. God bless every other promotion out there that is giving me the opportunity to still be able to watch pro wrestling instead of falling victim to this fucking nonsense. Anyway, to be continued. Everything is so vague too. For all we know, there is a possibility we might get 3 matches of this on an SNME. Look, it's so vague, but the general precept is there and it stinks. TK saw John Cena's announcement and had to text his team to release the Owen graphic because he was out of breath from laughing. Will Washington goes, boss, we were supposed to do this in 3 weeks. And TK is just dying. No, let's do this now. Tee. Really feels like they're gassing up Cena to be the new Unky Paul. I don't. How do you mean? If you mean like the figurehead, the figurehead that shows up to rile up the crowd and get people excited, yes. If you mean as in the new creative guy who makes all this decision backstage, John Cena does not want to do that. Hollywood movie star John Cena doesn't want to travel twice a week to Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown to put on a sports entertainment program. He does not want to do that. Aurapalooza. Holy shit. God damn it, that's so good. Aurapalooza. Are we using this moving forward? I think we are. This is just a way for WWE to gauge who they can fire without people caring. That's so savage. That's savage. I thought I was pretty mean. That is fucking brutal. I love it. This has LA Knight's name all over it. We'll have to see. It's the audience who decides. Do they want to snap into a Slim Jim? Yeah? Is that what they want to do? We're going to have to find out. Or we'll, where's Carmelo Hayes? Are they going to put Carmelo Hayes into this? I saw quickly like an interview or a quote from a Trick Williams interview where someone somewhere had asked them, do you want to defend your title against Carmelo Hayes, right? And his response was like, well, we'll see what's going to happen. Something to that effect, right? Not a yes. No, oh, hell yeah, that could be good. It's like, oh, we'll see what's going to happen. And you know what? This guy knows it's not going to happen. This guy knows he's a bigger star than Carmelo Hayes. Everyone knows Trick Williams has always been the bigger star than Carmelo Hayes. Everyone who believed that Carmelo Hayes would have this huge impact when going up onto main roster would just served a cold, hard dose of reality. Whereas a lot of us who were observing things like Carmelo Hayes, good little wrestler, great for the small rooms, got over in NXT, is not going to work out on main roster. And so far, so good on that front. I mean, for us, but not for Carmelo Hayes. I'm actually surprised Carmelo Hayes survived the cuts. I'm wondering how much money I wonder how much his contract was restructured, because it has been. It has. And Trick, they see potential in Trick. Bernie can still win. A company that is ashamed to admit the IR wrestling company isn't worth watching. True. I worry that long term, more companies will change their presentation style to emulate WWE style. MLA all day. They already have. They already do. They all it is currently the thing. Like, why? No one has changed their presentation in 30 years. And when it's time to go to get a media deal, and you're talking to an executive who only has, doesn't consume anything, is not a pro wrestling fan, just looks at what's happening on WWE and looks at your product. If your product is too different than what's happening on WWE, they're like, well, no, your shit is minor league. It has been with us for a long time. This is a very, very, unfortunately, a very, very long time. This is the way wrestling is done now. Yeah, that's a quote that. Anyway, moving on. Since we're talking about, people being released and cuts and whatnot, there's this big brouhaha around Asuka's status within WWE right now. I've got an article pulled up here from the Figure 4 Online just to give us some context here. This is the newest information, because there's been a lot of speculation that since her match on Backlash on Friday, there's been on this past Saturday, there's been a lot of people feeling like this match felt like a send-off. It felt like it was her au revoir to the WWE universe. No one's quite sure exactly what's going on. There's been some confusing reports, but let's start with let's just go from the newest report onward, where we have a report from PW Insider in this regard. Following WWE Backlash on Saturday, Dave Meltzer reported on Wrestling Observer Radio that he's been told Asuka is semi-retired, although specifics on what that entails are not clear. On Monday morning, Mike Johnson wrote that PW Insider has been told that Asuka is, quote, believed to remain aligned with the company, unquote. What does that even fucking mean? What does that mean? That, friends, is WWE corporate speak. Remain aligned with the company. This is like when Vince McMahon would talk about brand supremacy. It's like, what? Anyway, Johnson also wrote that a story has been making the rounds among some at WWE, that Asuka is returning to Japan for an extended period of time due to a family matter that Johnson writes he will not disclose and cannot confirm to be accurate, which is fine. Johnson is also reporting that Asuka is in Knoxville, Tennessee on Monday, which is where Raw is scheduled for. It's not clear if Asuka will be on Raw. However, neither she nor Io Sky have been advertised for it ahead of time. Fightful Select also put out a report early on Monday stating that Asuka had signed a long-term contract with WWE in the summer of 2024. While an exact time frame for the deal is not known, many wrestlers around that time were signing deals for 5 years. Listen, you've been paying attention, students, we've been paying attention for the past couple of weeks at this point now. Who cares about the length of your contract with WWE? It doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter anymore. Because they can sit down and renegotiate your deal on a flash. You're essentially on a 90-day rolling contract at this point. It doesn't matter. You could be signed for 5 years, 2 years, or 10 years. It doesn't matter. They can do whatever the fuck they want with your contract, and you're going to sit down and you're going to love it. You're going to slurp it up and you're going to say, thank you so much for the privilege of being a WWE superstar. Yes, please take 50% of my salary moving forward. Thank you. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I understand what Sean is what Sean is saying in his Fightful report, right? Saying that, well, in 2024, she signed, and a lot of people were signing for 5 years at this point. So I understand. Like, he's just adding context. Like, is it a little soon? It doesn't matter anymore. From this WrestleMania moving forward, these WWE contracts are just, they're handshakes. They don't matter. They can get rid of you whenever they want. They can keep you and tell you to make less money working for them while they rake in billions of dollars. Several WWE wrestlers have also been commenting or posting tributes to Asuka online. However, none of the tributes mention anything about whether Asuka is retired, semi-retired, or stepping away from the ring. Shinsuke Nakamura, AJ Styles, Natty. I don't know why I said it like that. Natty. I don't know. Natalia Neidhart is probably the the most unexpectedly funny person in pro wrestling. Anyway, maybe that's what. Anyway, Jesus Christ, Io Sky and several others have posted photos or comments to Asuka in the days since Backlash. You can see a couple of them here as I scroll down, and it is what it is. So yeah, I would 100% say that Asuka was asked to restructure, and Asuka was like, well, let's just, how about I don't work as much? Smart girl. Because if they're going to restructure the, maybe she's just like, well, give me less dates. That's all. And I'll go back to Japan and I'll handle whatever I have to handle there. And that'll be that. It doesn't matter. Yeah. She's clearly not gone, because that would be made clear. They wouldn't be talking to Mike Johnson and saying and telling him, oh, well, she's still aligned with the company. Again, what the fuck does that mean? Then again, Kairi Sane, for years after she was gone from WWE, she was an ambassador of WWE in Japan. Like she was still somehow touching some kind of money, some kind of salary. I don't know exactly. But while she was no longer wrestling for WWE, she was hanging around in Japan. And I'm still convinced she's the one who opened the door for Rossi to get in touch with WWE. Like, I'm sure, you kept hearing about how, about NXT Japan and all of that. She was probably, someone making the rounds, activating her contacts, so maybe it'll be this type of situation too, where Asuka's just hanging around in Japan and trying to open some doors, trying to create some bridges between WWE and some Japanese promotions. There's some Japanese promotions right now who would love to be able to take some TKO money. Absolutely would love to have that opportunity. Maybe this is the type of thing that maybe Asuka turns out to have a hand in that. Maybe nothing at all either. Maybe it's just a thing where she's going to go off and take some time off and then return. Maybe she's just going to be a part-timer. Like, the language is so fucking oblique that we don't, there's no real clarity to get out of this. Well, I'll tell you one thing. If she, whether she leaves or not, whether she's semi-retired, part-time or whatnot, like, if it ever does end up where it's like, no, Asuka's gone, I do not think she's going to AEW. I would say that with a certain amount of confidence. Asuka is absolutely going to be the type of person who's just going to make sure that she stays in good graces with WWE, stays loyal with them. I'm sure she feels a tremendous amount of loyalty towards them for the career that she's had. Because she is not a necessarily easy career. And she left Japan while she was on the verge. Well, she had already been, not blacklisted, but, the biggest Joshi promotion in Japan would have nothing to do with her. She left, took a chance. WWE gave her the incredible push, made her into a star. I don't think she's throwing that away. I think she wants her Hall of Fame induction. She wants all the bells and whistles that go with it. I'm sure for her, like, the most successful part of her career has been working in the United States. Not, getting the piss beat out of her by Minoru Suzuki on the indies. Like, there's, I don't see Asuka showing up in in AEW in any stretch of the imagination. You know, I don't know. Look, I don't even know if you could count. Oh, of course they work with Stardom. You know, like the Stardom that existed when Asuka was being ostracized is not even around anymore. The people who are invested in that aren't even around anymore. You know, Rossi's off doing, you know, Marigold, and Mayu's injured, and you know, all of these people just aren't around anymore. So I'm sure it's not even a question of there's still bad blood. Bad blood to whom? Like, they're all gone. So, you know, I think, look, I mean, good for her if she was presented with a restructuring and was able to negotiate, well, I'm going to work less. I mean, brilliant, right? Good for her. Let her go settle what she needs to settle. Let her go do that thing. But at the very least, she'll show back up in WWE, because look, one of the things that WWE is missing these days is surprise returns. You know, the stars of the past that they can bring back to a big pop for a couple of nights, right? Instead of hiring them like Saraya and the Bella Twins. Just someone you can bring back for a program. You know, a Trish Stratus type. You get another one here. Anyway, look, you know, she's still aligned with WWE. It's just like, you know, I'll just gargle the fucking it's just gargle essentially. And she, you know, she's still employed in some fashion with WWE is what they're trying to say. They're not giving any details. They're not telling us. I would not be surprised in the slightest if she just becomes a part-timer moving forward. Wouldn't be shocked in the slightest. But hopefully we all agree that this clearly seems to be someone who had their deal restructured. And she was like, well, fuck this shit. Then I'm not hitting the road every week anymore. We're done with this then. 50% salary, 50% time. And good for her if she negotiated it. Of course, we're all working under assumptions now. But there you go. And no, I don't think she's going to AEW. So those are my thoughts on Asuka and her situation. Don't know why I felt like I had to do a theme song here. The 50% cuts is a godsend for the people who want to get free because a modification requires new terms. True. How many of them do want to be free though? Well, they did a hug goodbye segment with Io and Asuka on Raw, so it's going to be even more confusing. It's already confusing. That's right. Low-key legend. Brother. I honestly believe that the unilateral cancellation rights could be used to contest the viability of the contracts because they probably fail the consideration leg requirement for valid contracts. Consideration requires something of value to be offered on both sides, and courts have generally found at will employment doesn't meet that standard, which is why non-competes were regularly struck down before federal regulation, federal government, not the WWE. Now, thank you for that, D. Owens, who is a legal-minded individual who can walk us through the finer details here. Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, it's like we've talked about in the past in these similar situations. The thing is that the promotion will always try to find a settlement. We'll always try to find a settlement out of court with any wrestler who contests their contract, because they don't want, like you said, they don't want the contracts in court because they will not hold up, and they know this. And it's the same thing with AEW. The same thing with AEW and the Kevin Kelly Tate twins stuff. Tony Khan doesn't want the contracts to be put under scrutiny in front of a court because a lot of this stuff doesn't hold up. So that's why they search to get the settlements, and the wrestlers take the settlements because it's an easy payout, because they don't want to incur all the costs of going to court and so on and so forth. They don't want to be a martyr for a cause. They just want to get paid. But of course, if they went to court with it, I am 100% with you. It just would not stick. Matt Miller, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Also, member of the channel. Hypothetical, though. If you're Tony Khan, do you back the truck up and make a big offer anyway? Okay. Hypothetical, I'm Tony Khan. I'm not on stream right now. I don't back up the truck to make a huge offer. I don't think this is a talent that I don't think it's a talent that I 100% like empty the bank for. I make a good solid push. I make a solid push. But, you know, I'm not trying desperately to bring her in. If it works, it works. And if it doesn't, well, so be it. And it could, you know, it's kind of my same position with Kairi Sane. Tremendous wrestlers, legendary wrestlers in their own right, but banged up now. Like both injuries on top of injuries on top of injuries. I don't know. I don't know if I go that far as to, like you said, back the truck up. And I know it's a silly thing to say when you consider that Tony Khan did this to Saraya, and you're like, well, why wouldn't you do it to Asuka? And I agree. I never understood why he paid Saraya so much money. Yeah, Saraya is a Hall of Fame worker for getting that deal out of TK. And any real contract out of TKO. She's the silver-tongued one, isn't she? Did you see that Johnny Gargano keeps a picture of Triple H with his child in his pocket? Fear of losing their job is off the charts. Wait, what? Is that a work? Is that like part of a storyline? That sounds that sounds extremely sad. That sounds terribly sad. I will say this: flooding the market with wrestlers only helps TKO in negotiation time. Listen, as we talked about last Thursday when we were talking about the restructurings and whatnot, this benefits Tony Khan. Because, okay, let's use the hypothetical of Asuka here, okay? Even though I just said he wouldn't back the truck up to get her. But let's use the Asuka hypothetical, okay? Let's say, and I think this is reasonable, let's say she's making $1 million a year, okay? Which I think is, with her tenure, with the time that she's been in the company, I think it's possible. TKO sits her down and says, well, 50% restructuring. And she says, you know, she flips the double birds. It's like, fuck you. And she pulls a New Day, right? And she bets on herself, and she calls Tony Khan. Well, Tony Khan knows that she was just asked to take a 50% cut off of her deal. And, you know, so he doesn't feel compelled to offer her 6 figures at this point. 7 figures, excuse me. He can offer her high 6, you know, sure, you know, 700,000, let's say. And Asuka might go, well, that's a little low, but where else is she going to go? Who else is going to pay out 6 figures for Asuka in North America? There's nowhere else. It ain't Carlos Silva, brother. It ain't William Patrick Corgan. It ain't the Lutheroths either. I can tell you that. So even for Tony Khan, he because of how TKO is handling their things, I think it advantages AEW in these negotiation processes as well, and I'm sure it will, and I'm sure it will have been good for the New Day as well. Where he's like, well, I don't have to pay these guys at their premium WWE price. I don't have to, because they were being asked to take a 50% pay cut. So he can, and I'm doing the huge air quotes, he can lowball them, for lack of a better term, but they have no leverage then moving forward, because they're not going to go back to WWE and say, because if Tony offers Asuka $700,000, whereas if she stayed with WWE, she was going to make $500,000. She's not going to go back to WWE and say, well, Tony Khan just offered me $700,000. They're like, well, we're offering you $500 because we think we can do without you, because there's not much for you to do. There's no more leverage. So I think it advantages. I think the situation advantages Tony Khan on that front. And unfortunately, the wrestlers are going to be on the losing end of stuff again. At least those leaving WWE and hoping to get to brighter shores in All Elite Wrestling. It's why the wrestlers that said they only wanted to go to the E were dumb. Keep that leverage and bid war up. Yeah, absolutely. Or not even those who said it, but those who acted in the way that it's like, like Ricky Saints, like Penta. And I mean, Blake Monroe was blatantly obvious, right? Mariah May. Did I say Penta? Ray Phoenix is what I meant. Zilla Fatu. He can go fuck himself. Zilla Fatu. Who cares about Zilla Fatu? The only people who care about Zilla Fatu are the media. That's all. He's a dummy. He's a big dummy. I don't know why people keep talking about him. I really don't. In fact, yes, I know why, because he's related to Roman. But other than that, Heath Slater once told a story about being at WWE Hall of Fame ceremony and nearly getting his eardrums blown out from the applause Johnny Gargano and Aleister Black were giving Paul Levesque. Oh, yeah. Yep. So I believe that story about Gargano's photo. Okay. You sold me on it. I believe you then. We're covering a lot of stuff tonight. We're having a good time. Hope you guys and gals and non-binary pals are having a good time. Leave a like on the stream if you are. Would appreciate that tremendously. Subscribe if it's your first time here. I give you a kiss in advance for doing so. Brandon Thurston at it again. He's been digging up some really big stuff recently. Some really, really interesting stuff on top of that. AEW is suing Triller TV for nearly $5 million in overdue payments. We got this article here on Post Wrestling. We're not going to read the whole of the article because it's fairly long, but we're going to touch on some things, but at least read the article to get the context here. AEW has filed a lawsuit against the Triller. Look at me. AEW has filed a lawsuit against Triller TV and its parent company, Triller Group Inc., alleging the streaming platform owes Tony Khan's wrestling company just under $5 million in unpaid revenue from AEW pay-per-view sales and from proceeds from the now discontinued AEW Plus subscription service. AEW's lawsuit was filed on April 29 in Duval County Court in Florida. The legal complaint alleges Triller TV's parent company used AEW-derived revenues to fund other businesses, including a social media platform that never took off. What? Rather than paying AEW what was owed, I should say. Here's the quote in that regard here. Triller Group Inc.'s strategy of robbing revenues. This is from the filing, by the way. This is lawyers writing this out. Triller Group's Inc.'s strategy of robbing revenues generated by Triller TV's distribution of AEW content to cover other of defendants' operating expenses, much of which was spent on the social media platform Endeavor, negatively impact its relationship with and payments owed to AEW. AEW's attorneys wrote in the lawsuit. That's crazy. I'm sorry to sound like a basic ass YouTuber, but it is. That's crazy. There's no other way to put it. Yeah, look, it's nuts because essentially what the lawsuit is claiming is a bunch of stuff, including breach of contract, unjust enrichment, and tortious interference, which is, that's for the parent company, right? The robbing stuff is crazy, right? And for this social media platform, I had never heard that Triller wanted to do this. I'm really taken aback. And AEW says it sent written demand letters in January and March 2025, and Triller paid only a fraction of what was owed on March 1st, 2025. One of the things that we've learned in the lawsuit is how is the revenue split, which is very, very interesting because we never, we're not very, we're not privy to that type of information, right? But what we did get here, thanks to the lawsuit, is for domestic pay-per-view sales, AEW gets 75% of the net revenue and Triller 25%. And this this was an agreement that was set all the way back in 2019. International pay-per-views, AEW gets 65%, Triller 35%, and that also was in mid 2019. That's a more, I think that's a more common split, the 65-35, 75-25, man. That's woo. That's what you do when you hold all the cards. When you're AEW and you're holding all the cards, that's what you go for. Get the 75%, brother. Pre-2019, so the earliest of AEW's pay-per-views was a straight 50-50 split. The AEW Plus subscription was a 60-40 split, 60 of course going to AEW. I didn't realize it would be that high. That's pretty high. As far as Triller's cut, 60-40, that's I find that's a lot. So that's really honestly, that's super interesting data to have picked up here. And it, we had found out during an SEC filing not that long ago that AEW content drove 24% of all of Triller Group revenue in 2024. That's also nuts. Yeah, when you consider all of this, AEW represented a quarter of your business, of your overall revenue. AEW, one company, one client, one customer was responsible for a quarter of the revenue. And then you still couldn't end up paying it. That's crazy. That is extreme mismanagement. That's just nuts. But here's the surprise. Like we're all talking about, oh, this is very interesting. This is all very interesting. Interesting information that we're gleaning here, Warren. Yes, I agree. Yes, quite. Yes. However, there's a twist to all of this because Brandon found out through this filing that a few weeks before AEW filed the suit, Flips Media, which is the company that is behind Triller TV, sued Triller Group, right? What did they call it again? Triller Group Inc. in its own separate lawsuit in Delaware. So Flips declared insolvency in the filing. It says that it declared insolvency. Says Triller TV has been abandoned by the Triller Group, and says it can't even file for bankruptcy because it lacks a board of directors. It's asking the court to declare its officers as the de facto board so it can consider filing for bankruptcy. Now that, boys and girls and everyone in between, is a fucking twist. Triller TV, the operation in this as a property belonging to Triller Group Incorporated, was just left to themselves. Was just like, boop, boop, just go off and do your thing. You guys are a money sink. We don't want anything to do with. That is nuts. It's nuts. And it also explains at the same time why Triller hadn't gone bankrupt yet, like Triller TV. Because, chat, how many times over the past months, easily a year, maybe even 18 months, have we occasionally checked in with Triller TV and looked at the stock price? Like, what the fuck is going on? These people are toast. They're done. Not that long ago, we were talking about the Orange Crush guy, right? The guy who's going to be behind the produce promotion. He was thinking about buying Triller TV, and we were looking at the stock price again, and I was like, he's going to get this shit for peanuts. And we were all wondering, how come this company's still alive? Why is this company still operating? Yes, it's been unlisted from the NASDAQ or whatever, but it's, what the hell is going on? Why haven't they shut this down? Why is it not bankrupt yet? And I was sitting here speculating with a lot of you going, well, maybe there's, desperately scrounging for some kind of funding. We were saying they're going to unload this onto someone, like, the Orange Crush guy. It's like, there's so much stuff that we sat around scratching our head that didn't make sense as to why Triller TV was still around. This is why. Because the parent company didn't give a fuck. And the Triller TV company is maintaining a service that is not making money, and they are unable to pay their suppliers with their partners, the content providers. They're unable to pay them. At least they're unable to pay their major client. Look, if they can't pay their top customer that is responsible for 25% of their revenue, I'm assuming that it's their top customer, right? If they represent a quarter of the fucking revenue, I think in any company be like, yeah, this is our top. If they can't pay their top or one of their top customers what they're owed, I can only imagine how all of the other indies that are striking deals and CMLL broadcasting on Fight and on Triller and all that. I don't know how these people are getting paid. If AEW, a top customer, a top client for Triller TV, ain't getting paid. So the Triller TV people are just like, they're spinning their wheels trying to keep this thing afloat when none of it is making money. And they want to get this done. They want to put the key in the door. They want to throw Triller TV to the curb. They're done. And here's a guy that this also came out with Brandon's research, Adam Bigwood, who was the chief content officer for Triller TV. And he's the guy who would do a lot of media. A lot of people in media knew the dude. He was very front-facing. He's been gone since April 30th. No one knew. And no one knew. The guy who's going around striking the deals with all of these, organizations and wrestling promotions and whatever the fuck else that they broadcast on Triller, he's just gone. And no one knew. That's crazy. Because despite the insolvency, Triller TV's site still lists upcoming live events. The platform is still alive. They want it to go dark. The Konstantin Jordanov, the CEO, and the president, CEO Eric Winter, they want this thing to just shut down, but the Triller group don't want. So, as a lot of us suspected, this is why AEW launched My AEW, because they were like, look, we are going to need to get our pay-per-views still out there internationally for our international markets. So we're just going to do it ourselves, because look, for whatever reason, it didn't work out with HBO Max, but HBO Max is not available everywhere either. It's just like, we're going to do our little streaming service. It'll be available to everyone outside of North America. There we go. And that's what we suspected. That's what we suspected, Chad. We saw this coming. We knew something was up. We knew something was wrong at Triller TV for AEW to go off and do their own streaming platform for their international pay-per-views. Yes, there's other content. Yes, you can watch Dynamite live, but it was for the pay-per-views, right? That was what it was for. And then you turn around and it's like, next thing you know, Triller is canceling all of its upcoming AEW pay-per-views, and it's terminating AEW Plus. And then the filing. We saw this coming. Chat. We knew something was up. Look, I don't know exactly what to add here. Stock, as of, earlier today, I checked, was about at 25 cents, market cap of 50 million for Triller TV. Like, someone can get this for fucking peanuts if they really wanted to. Look, I saw a lot of people, go, well, why didn't Tony Khan just go ahead and purchase it, right? Can you imagine how much debt this company is in? And then the debt transfers to the new owner? Tony Khan doesn't want that. Tony's better off, because, look, and I understand, right? There were a lot of people who were like, listen, Tony could pick up Triller TV and then, get all sorts of deals with indies and whatnot, and it'd be so much better and be so much more positive. And well, sure. Then again, like it's not Tony's responsibility. His responsibility is to AEW and to Ring of Honor. because he owns those, right? And as much as Tony Khan loves professional wrestling, he hasn't undertaken a mandate to protect professional wrestling and give it all sorts of openings and venues and whatnot. Like, there's a lot of operational costs that go to operating this kind of thing. If anything, if he really wanted to like start broadcasting, cut a deal with, with West Coast Pro, with New Texas, with Action Wrestling or whatever, he could cut a deal with them and broadcast them on MyAEW. And just like, yeah, it's also the home for great indie promotions as well, So, I completely understand Tony Khan not wanting to dip his toes into Triller TV. That sounds absolutely awful. Sounds absolutely awful. Anyway, you should go read this article. This article from the Brandon Thurston over on Post Wrestling to get all of the nitty gritty details. I just talked about like the big revelations, the stuff that really did stand out. But there's, if you want to get really into the nuts and bolts in it, Brandon wrote, of course, a tremendous article because he's just about the only guy who's reporting real news these days as far as pro wrestling goes. So it's a good time to support Post Wrestling and WrestleNomics, I'll tell you what. All right. Hey, Coritry, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. This will cause Triller to dissolve, most likely. So what about making MyAEW the home for the indies? Oh, well, okay. We just talked about like that relied on Triller TV like GCW. Yeah, I mean, if Tony wants to do that, right? I mean, it's if he wants to do it. The only thing that's keeping him from doing it or not is whether he wants to do it. That's essentially it. When they file Chapter 11, this suit will help them get to the top of the pile. They want to be able to get liabilities from the sale of the social media site, not just streaming. True. Wait, I thought MyAEW was rushed out because WBD said they weren't getting re-upped, not because it was partially clear that Triller was basically belly up. I mean, we cannot set aside the idea that David Zaslav told, random sports agents that Warner Bros. Discovery, after merging with Paramount, was not going to pick up AEW anymore, right? Boris, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. So, and it's you too, Jay Luthi, member of the channel. Very nice to see you. Triller is such a dumb name. I'm glad everyone agrees that Fight was the better name. It was very good. It was a very, very good name. Triller was always weird and dumb. Candidly, the best scenario is probably TK ending up with Fight. At least the Indies and CMLL would still have a service. The YouTube channel for CMLL works quite well for them, and they're mostly into putting on the live show. They don't put much effort or stock into the live streams. They're very, very basic. Just keep that in mind. I was fascinated following this to see how bad Triller's financials are, and they just don't do their SEC financial filing. That got them delisted. So yeah, not exactly the most spectacular thing here. Shame we never got Trillerville, the social media powerhouse, second only to Tout. I hope it was called Trillerville. Adam Bigwood as a name is only rivaled by Dick Pound. I agree. If TK wants it, it'll be as a bid following bankruptcy where he can shed some of the liabilities. I don't think he does, though. I don't think he wants this. Why would he? He's got a streaming service. He's got his streaming service already for his companies. He's got a streaming deal with HBO Max. Huge streamer. Tony Khan acts closer to someone that believes they have the mandate to save wrestling than any billionaire I could imagine before him. This is true, though. This is very, very true. So I can understand why people sort of go, well, why doesn't he buy it? I want to make sure that I'm clear. I'm not poo-pooing on people, not going, you fucking marks. Do you think he's really good? It's nothing like that. Warren, do you know who took the 50% pay cut? Word amongst the dirt sheets is that it's Gargano. What have you heard? Nothing. I don't get anything at all from WWE. I don't hear anything at all. Very seldom. Like we talked about, I think it is safe to assume. It's very safe to assume that Asuka was restructured, which has led us to the situation with Asuka right now, like we talked about. I think but that's it. Like, that's an educated guess more than me saying, yeah, a little birdie told me. That's not it. But I think it's safe to say. I think it's safe to say. The idea then is, then after that, I wouldn't be surprised at, gut feelings. I wouldn't be surprised if Johnny Gargano took the 50% either. Candice LeRae, wouldn't be surprised in the slightest. Despite the fact that you'd think that they'd fit in perfectly with AEW, I don't think they want to go there. I think these are WWE lifers. We talked about it a bit last week too, speaking, in particular about Kevin Owens. And Kevin Owens, don't forget one thing, just to circle back to that, as I would assume Kevin Owens is another guy who got the 50% restructuring because, he's injured and whatnot, and he's not a tippy top guy. So I'm sure he got the call. Or if not, he'll be up on the chopping block. But this is a guy who doesn't, why at this stage of his career, why would he go to AEW and try to win over another crowd? Another crowd that would expect him to have Kevin Steen matches anymore, but Kevin Steen doesn't exist anymore because physically Kevin Steen just doesn't exist anymore. Plus, and I can tell you this for a fact, Kevin Owens, his dream has always been to be in WWE. This is his dream, to be in WWE. I don't think this is a guy that when they talked about top guys, top wrestlers taking pay cuts, for me, the first person that came to mind was Kevin Owens. For sure. They're never pushing the guy again. They don't see him as a merch mover. They don't see him as a main eventer, WrestleMania main eventer, so on and so forth. He's a guy that is absolutely on the restructuring block, and he'll accept it. He'll be fine. And that's the thing is he's also a guy who was super smart with his money. So he's like, I'll just make a little less money. Gargano taking a cut while Ciampa's on fire. You hate to see it. Do you? Really? Do you really? Does Tony even need the $5 million though? Isn't that just pocket change for him? I want to throw this into the pile here. Okay, I'm gonna do just a little bit of research. Okay, right live before your eyes. Okay? Pull up the Wikipedia page. So, Fight TV, Triller TV, was launched on February 9, 2016. So it's been around effectively for a decade, right? That's how math works, right? As you guys and gals and non-binary pals know, I am terrible at math. In 10 years, this company has been unable to make money. They're destitute at this point. They're desperately trying to make this company to turn out the lights on the company. My question that I have to you is, why would my question overall would be, why would Tony Khan want to pick up a company that has never made money? Why would he want to do that? Crazy when you think about it that way. You're like, no, that makes sense, right? I mean, I think it makes sense. Makes sense to me. Why would I buy a company that was unable to turn a profit? Now, for the question about the 5 million, why is he fighting for 5 million? It is chump change to him, maybe chump change to Tony Khan, the man, but there's an organization that probably needs this $5 million. That probably wants it real bad because it's their fucking money. Because when they budgeted the year, they estimated that they were going to get this money and it's not there. So then you're going to have to run things at a loss. Like, it's not good administration regardless, because otherwise you declare it as a loss. There's a big gaping hole and you're going to have to recoup that somehow. And then you cross your fingers that you hope to hell that the accountants don't come around and say, well, because of the 5 million, we're not able to recoup. Tony, we're going to have to fire some people. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that's exactly what's going to happen. I'm just saying, like, type of thing. I know, we're fine. I'm not mad. I'm not like that. It's a good thing to throw out there. TSG. It's fine. We're shooting the shit. Admit the company AEW probably wants the 5 million more than its billionaire owner. I agree. I will yell at you as much as I want. I never ask you chumps for super chats. You will allow me the opportunity to yell at you. You got that? Oh, it's 10 o'clock, but I wanted to. Okay, listen, back to the docket, because I do want to. I want to add this before we go. Okay, I want to add this, and we'll try to get to these on Thursday. We have to stop having interesting topics to talk about. I want to talk about this article here, published on WrestleNomics by Brandon Thurston. I'm going to read the article. The title is WWE Raw and SmackDown 2019-2024 media rights contracts with NBC, Universal, and Fox. Excuse me? That's right. Brandon's got him. What did he do? Did he grease some palms? Did he go meet some people with brown envelopes in a dark parking lot, underground parking lot late at night? No. Brandon explains here in his article, through the WWE merger shareholder lawsuit in Delaware's Court of Chancery. Sounds so fancy. WWE's deals with NBC Universal, granting rights to Monday Night Raw and SmackDown to Fox, each from late 2019 to late 2024, are now fully public without any redactions. Folks, this is the part where you as a wrestling fan rub your hands together and you're like, finally, we get to see if the speculations were right. If what we believed was true, and what kind of what kind of setups did WWE have with these media companies. Now, I'm not going to read the whole article because it is lengthy. There is a lot of stuff. Brandon, of course, goes crazy in depth. So I highly suggest going for it, right? Opening it up, reading. But I got the highlights. I'm going to break it down. We're going to talk about we're going to go through some of the big sticking points here, because this is the actual paper, right? These aren't reported numbers. These aren't guesstimates. Yeah, this is or projections, Brandon and Dave Meltzer, listening to the earnings calls every quarter and then listening to the returns and then deducing, well, because this show happened during this quarter and it happened in Saudi Arabia, then that means that this money over here changed here, and that means that the deal with Saudi Arabia is worth this much, type of thing. For the media deals, for the TV, we've got the numbers. Raw on USA came out to 1.325 billion over 5 years, averaging 265 million a year, escalating exactly 15 million annually. Now, to be clear, these media deals always pay more towards the back end of So the amounts always start smaller on first year, then you get a little bigger second, third, and keep moving. And with these escalations here of 15 million annually. SmackDown on Fox, that was worth 1.025 billion over 5 years, averaging 205 million per year, escalating 12.5 million annually. Both deals ran October 19 through September 2024, and it confirms with what Meltzer, Brandon, and others reported for years. But now we've got it with the appropriate exact math. Also included in the contract are the no compete clauses, and this was part of MLW's lawsuit with WWE. If you recall, right? MLW was trying to get a foot in the door, but WWE had all these clauses preventing any other pro wrestling to be broadcast on those networks. That's what they alleged, at the very least, in the lawsuit. We never got a full resolution to that because the lawsuit was settled outside of court. But we've got the paperwork now. NBCU agreed not to air any other wrestling on its cable networks. Carve-outs only for Lucha Libre or non-US wrestling, and that would only be on NBC Universo. Combate Americas was explicitly acknowledged as not being a competitor. Again, important for the Hispanic networks of NBCU. Fox had the same type of clause too. No promoting or advertising any non-WWE wrestling. They, however, had some carve-outs in the deal for MMA, amateur wrestling, like college wrestling, UFC, Bellator, those types of setups, and Glory as well. This is exactly what MLW. This is exactly what MLW alleged in its antitrust suit. And these clauses being public is, look, Court was right. Court Bauer was right. What do you want from me? Court Bauer was right. And it also probably explains why MLW's Tubi deal got killed before it was even announced. It's all related. How much did they settle for? MLW, 20 million, something like that? I think it was 20 million. Digging into the contracts as well, we found out about that there's clauses regarding creative control and the partners. That's right. Creative control with the broadcast partners. WWE retained final creative control on both deals, both the NBCU deal and the Fox deal. NBCU had consultation rights, but couldn't override. All right, so they could pop in and here's some notes, but they couldn't override. Like they couldn't turn Raw into like they couldn't turn Raw into a SmackDown highlight show, for instance. That's stuff that couldn't happen. Fox, however, had a little extra something, had a little extra bit of spice here. WWE had to flag content that might damage Fox's relationship with its other sports partners, the NFL, NASCAR, Major League Baseball, so on and so forth. It had to flag content to Fox. And Fox would have a look at it and, look, essentially no shooting on Fox's other partners, basically. That was off limits to WWE. And there was no viewership benchmark tied to payments. So as long as new content kept being produced, the checks cleared, even if we were in the midst of the pandemic era and there was no one in the building, that had no incidence on the amount of money Fox was handing over. That's something that Brandon also had speculated on. So it confirmed that theory was correct. No viewership benchmarks tied to payments. Now, there was some promotional commitments that were asked by the partners as well. And Fox had some pretty hefty promotional commitments. And it's very interesting. Fox had to promote SmackDown like it promoted the NFL, NASCAR, and Major League Baseball. It had to, so that's why it was often included in these reads, during ball games, during sports games. That's because it was considered to be part of that environment. Crossover into Thursday night football slots, Sunday NFL games, college football, Major League Baseball, NASCAR, college basketball. SmackDown had to be promoted in that aspect. WWE talent had to appear on Fox reality shows, on scripted shows, on Fox News, on sports studios. That was part of the deal. Fox had to spend a minimum $20 million a year in promo value, right? $125 million minimum over the term, separate from the rights fees. So when we say had to pay, when we say like $20 million a year in value, that doesn't necessarily mean that they were paying WWE. It's more like the exposure that they were given had to be equal to $20 million a year. And there had to be a minimum of $125 million before the end of the term. So I would assume, and I don't know for sure, but via the language, I would assume that there wasn't any money being transacted. Like Fox wasn't really paying WWE for promotional for promo, or at least WWE wasn't paying Fox for promo. Fox was offering it up as value, as comps, essentially. And as a point of comparison, NBCU's commitments were a lot softer. Just like one annual, they call it Symphony cross promo commitment, and that was up to NBCU to determine. And Symphony is, from what I read, is kind of like the blanket term for creating synergy cross promotions within the NBCU universe. I guess they call it the Symphony. That doesn't matter. But On top, like coming back to Fox, all of the stuff that they had to do, as part of the contract, that's one thing. But there's stuff that Fox was contractually required to do and mostly didn't happen. So on top of here, let's run the list down of things that Fox was required to do but didn't happen. Such as a Saturday late night WWE show on Fox or FS1 entirely at the expense of Fox. That never happened. That never happened. So a show like what was the thing? WWE Backstage, is that the one that they used to do with Kyla Braxton and the two guys with Matt and the other dude, right? A show like that, but only produced by Fox. That never happened. A studio show on FS1 that became WWE Backstage. That's why I was talking. It debuted in October 2019. Did 597,000 viewers to begin with. Then did 426,000 viewers, but then never broke 200,000 viewers again and was dead by June 2020. Up to 4 pre-shows on Fox and FS1 before WrestleMania, the Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series. They were supposed to air WWE pre-shows on pay-per-view dates for those 4 shows. Those never happened either. Saturday primetime live event specials, such as Saturday night's main event, but they didn't happen. However, there was a tribute to the Troops show that happened in 2021 and the King of the Ring countdown specials as well. Both partners, before I go on, the question we might be asking ourselves is, why didn't they do most of this, right? Why didn't they do the Saturday night late night WWE show? Why weren't there more Saturday primetime specials? Why wasn't any of this happening? I would argue that at some point this relationship soured tremendously and Fox was very disappointed with the performances, and they probably had a couple of renegotiations, and they probably had some tense conversations where it's like, look, we're not able to sell our ad inventory at the price that we want because your audience sucks. So we're kind of stuck here. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. Your pay-per-view pre-shows, we're not doing that. The Saturday night show, forget about it. We're not doing that. And WWE kind of had to maybe acquiesce to their demands or whatnot. I think all these things not happening are symptoms of a relationship that really didn't turn out to be as good as anyone thought it would be, essentially. All right, so both partners got to rerun, to re-air basically their content and the YouTube clips. So both NBCU and Fox got rerun windows on Spanish, on their Spanish language sister channels, and on FS1 and FS2 as well. They couldn't re-air against Raw, SmackDown, or Sunday night primetime pay-per-views, of course. Raw clips starting at midnight after the broadcast. The partners could put a maximum of 50% of the entire episode online, and 80% of the clips had to be under 3 minutes. So that's very interesting. That's for Raw. And for SmackDown, clips before 10 p.m. couldn't exceed 1 minute. After the show, you got the same rule that they had for Raw, same 50, 80% under 3 minutes rule. That's very interesting. Fox had broadcast exclusivity, so it was the exclusive over-the-air WWE partner, explicitly preventing Raw on NBC. So Fox kept Raw, or potentially kept Raw, off of NBC because they were the only ones that could do over-the-air. Spanish language Raw replays were carved out but never used. And so that explains why, Saturday night's main event and on NBC and NXT on CW only became possible once the Fox deal was done. And that's crazy. Like that's the gist of it. There's more really interesting stuff here. There, especially when it comes to the contract renewals and whatnot. But this is it's a very, very fascinating snapshot as to how WWE operates and what it demands from its partners. I was kind of floored with the amount of promotion that it required, particularly from Fox. I thought it was a little heavy-handed, quite honestly. But Fox, the one takeaway that I have here is that Fox didn't do the majority of what they were into, or what they were contracted to do, I should say. And that's probably because the relationship had already started to sour. Because they probably already were like, yeah, you know what? This is not working out. So no, we're not doing this show. We're not doing this stuff. We're not doing that. Until you start getting, until we're capable of getting rid of our inventory at the price we want, then you guys can continue continue doing your thing. And we'll talk about you on, college football, and that'll be that. It's fascinating. It's a fascinating look. And then it makes you wonder, what kind of contracts does AEW have and how similar in structure are they? It makes you think of a lot of stuff. But again, if you want to get into the nitty-gritty a lot more, just head on over to WrestleNomics and read Brandon's article. It's fantastic. He breaks down everything in a lot of detail. Look, it is a very substantial article. Look at all that text. You're going to do a lot of reading, folks. But it's fascinating. I think it's very, 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 very fascinating, and you should give it a shot. Can't wait to see the next relationship collapse, this time with ESPN, who are getting MAC college football game ratings out of WrestleMania, despite pissing their viewers off with nonstop WWE content. I agree. That is a very good thought. A couple of weeks ago, when we were talking about the poor WrestleMania rating, we were talking about how ESPN was touting, was touting a softball game, hitting 750,000 viewers, something like that, 750. A softball game. And they were like, the most watched softball game in the history of softball. And they did nothing. They did no post-event hype for WrestleMania whatsoever. Crazy. This makes me think Fox was thinking WWE was going to be a stopgap before entering the streaming era. Also, you have to remember a huge thing that happened to Fox in 2019. They were bought by Disney. Disney didn't sign up to do WWE promotion, but Fox did, which is also that is a very fair point as well. That's a very, very, very fair point. Maybe the Disney guys were like, yeah, you know what? No, we're not doing this, which is very, very possible. Only on ESPN 8 The Ocho. Gargano's new contract is a Disney annual pass and half off parking. He wasn't even able to negotiate one for Candace and his kid. It was just like, listen, Johnny, we'll give you one. I think you'll be okay with that. Right? Oh, all right. Thank you. If MLW was able to settle, imagine how much AEW could win in court if they actually got boxed out. I agree. Warren, off topic, but Phil Brooks has disappeared. He said he wasn't going anywhere and working week to week. Can you make any inquiries? What, Phil is he hasn't been on WWE programming since WrestleMania? I wouldn't look too much. I wouldn't look too hard into that. He lost the title. It happens. You know, the champion loses a title and he disappears for a couple of weeks. He's taken some time off. He needs to reset his body. You know, they call him Brittle Phil after all. You know, he's got to rehab. He's not ready to, you know, I don't know. I wouldn't put too much stock into any conspiracies. I feel like we're in a pretty normal window right now. You know, Hangman hasn't been on TV since he lost the title. Or he lost his title shot, I should say, to MJF, you know. No one's wondering if he's leaving. I don't know. I wouldn't put too much stock into it unless there's something I'm missing because I don't follow him on Instagram or whatever, but you know. Base at 316, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Is my tribal chief chick magnet Punk okay? I'm sure he's fine. I'm sure he's fine. Was hoping he'd be Danhausen's mystery partner. I heard it was supposed to be Jelly Roll. I want Warren to review the Danhausen, Minihausen versus the Miz Kit Wilson match from Backlash. I will do that. I will do that if we get 50 members on the channel. We're at, how many are we at right now? 38, something like that. Let me check. I'm not doing that shit for free. What? Because that sounds absolutely awful. Let's see here. Oh yeah, it's always in a weird place in studio. Memberships. I don't know what we got 31 memberships. Get me to 50. Get me to 50 and I'll review the fucking match. We don't need that review. D. Owens, I'm trying to make a little money here. What you doing, pal? What are you doing? Are you blowing my spot? He would have partnered with Danhausen once again. He would have partnered with Danhausen, but once again, Punk was never asked. Tremendous. Excellent use of the meme. All right. Well, we are going to wrap this up for tonight. We went long tonight. We went long. Will another perk be NXT pay-per-view instant reaction for live for 50 memberships? No. NXT reviews, like that is the most soul-sucking stuff. We would be much higher. I would have to think about it. I will get you to 32 right now if you promise to review it. I said 50, Coratry. I said 50. I appreciate you all for coming out tonight. Came out in good numbers. There was a lot of you hanging out tonight. All of you were excited for some Mr. Warren Hayes. Can't say I blame you. Thank you for showing up. I always appreciate it. You know, I put on I put on a face sometimes, and we joke around and talk about it. But I hope everyone understands that from the deepest part of my brain and the deepest recesses of my heart, I legitimately appreciate everyone who comes and shows up here on Mondays and Thursdays. You know, I still am floored that after all this time, when did I start doing this? 2019, something like that? That there's still people who show up. There were people showed up back then and people still show up today. And I'm like, okay, thank you. And none of that is taken for granted. And I hope you understand how appreciated you are. So there you go. Warren Hayes better than Michael Hayes for real. Wait till I get my silly hats. It'll be something. Thank you for the good jobs. I appreciate it. Yeah, exact. See, look at what reviewing NXT has done to Alvarez. Do you want that to happen to me? I don't want that to happen to me. Thank you for telling me I did a good job. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you all. Hope you have a great rest of your evening. Any good week. Be back Thursday, of course. Well, first of all, Wednesday, Mr. Warren Hayes Show. Thursday, the Dynamite Review. Plus the live stream on Thursday evening. Hope to see you there, folks. Thank you all very much for showing up. Yeah. Go to bed. Time for bed. I'll see you next time.